Good afternoon and welcome. We are doing another Invent Learning Hub school tour, and we have some very special guests here today. So I'm really excited for those of you out there watching to hear more about our school program. We are right now trying to enroll students for next year. I know there's a lot of uncertainty about what will happen for school next year, but we have multiple plans in place. If we're on e-learning or if we're back in school or there's some type of hybrid model, there are plans in place for all three types of schooling. So we are still in the season where we are enrolling students, and we are here to tell you about this great program. My name is Alicia Osler, and I'm the Executive Director for Invent Learning Hub. And our school program is probably one of the more innovative school programs on the southeast side of Indianapolis. We focus a lot on making sure that our students are not just learning their foundational reading and math skills, but that they're also working on learning how to become critical thinkers through our design thinking program. In our design thinking program, they actually take community-based problems. They come up with solutions to those problems, and then they prototype their ideas and then share those ideas out with their parents and the community through our family exhibition nights. We also focus on personalized learning. We do a lot of things within our school to tailor instruction to our individual students based on what their individual needs are, because we do believe that any student can be successful at Invent Learning Hub. The third piece that we focus on is our Pathways program. And in our Pathways program, we start in third grade, really teaching students a lot about what career options are out there for them, helping them dig into what their personal talents and skills are so that they can then link those talents and skills to careers. And then when they leave us in 8th grade, they leave with a solid plan, which helps them choose a right fit high school. In Indianapolis, almost every high school is based on some form of a career. So we believe that we really have to be prepping our students so that they know how to choose a high school. The other big piece to our program is our social and emotional learning program. We are actually going to talk a lot about that today. And that is, at our school, we're not just working solely on academics, but we're working on that heart and mind piece. So really getting at the root of helping students grow as individuals, both emotionally, socially, and academically. So today we're going to really focus on our Pathways program and our social and emotional learning program a little bit more in depth. We have some staff members here with us today, and we actually have some parents and students here with us today. So we're going to start with some introductions. And the first group I'm going to pull in are our staff members so that they can introduce themselves. All right. Want to start with you, Mr. Surface?
I will start. I am Mr. Surface, Gabriel Surface. I'm our Director of Academics. I work with our teachers, supporting them in curriculum design, observations and feedback, and just handling a lot of things instructionally.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rachel Chambers, and I'm the Director of Culture. I'm also the school counselor at ILH, and I get to teach all of our Pathways classes.
Hi, my name is Megan Fitzgerald, and I am an intermediate English language arts teacher at Invent Learning Hub. This year I taught 4th and 5th grade, and I'm actually going to be able to teach the same students next year in 5th, 6th grade.
Great. All right, I'm going to get ready to bring our parents and students on. We're so excited to have them with us today. All right, you want to start with Travion? You want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Travion Jones, and I'm a student at ILH, and I was in the Hub 5 group this year with Ms. Fitzgerald, Ms. Chambers, and some other teachers. And
who's your guest? Who do you have with you?
This is my aunt, Candace.
Great. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
And Emma, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name
name is Emma, and I am an ILH student.
Great. Who do you have with you?
Great meeting.
I'm in third grade, and it's Mommy.
And what would we call your mom? What's her name?
Jasmine.
Thank you for being with us. All right. So can I go back up to Travion? Can you share with us, just tell us something about ILH, something that you really like about being at Invent Learning Hub?
There's a lot of things. So what I would say that I really liked at ILH is the dedication and the effort that the teachers mostly put in to get us up to where we needed to be for moving on.
Thank you. Emma, well, how about you?
I like that I'm never bored at ILH. They always have something to do that's challenging a little bit for me.
That's awesome. And just so that the audience out there knows, these were not rehearsed. We have not practiced these. So these are true answers from our students. So thank you both for sharing that. And Jasmine and Candace, do you want to share anything about what you like about the school?
I really enjoy how involved the staff and teachers are. Emma knows most, if not all, of the staff. They all know her by name. And we really feel like it's a really welcoming environment. When I've gone to the school and brought her little brother, everyone's always saying hi and welcome and answering any questions that we've ever had. Just a really, really nice environment. And I really feel like everybody is invested in how each of the students is doing, both at school and at home, and just how well they're excelling with their education.
Thank you. Mrs. Wright, do you have anything to add?
I pretty much agree with everything that she has said. The teachers, the staff, everybody there it's just amazing how you guys take in on the kids, and you make sure, that they have everything that they need. You check up on them, and it's really amazing. It's really nice how you guys do things.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to share really quickly, and I'm going to put something up here on the screen. We, like I said earlier, are definitely enrolling students for next year. Spots are going quickly. We are pretty small. We only have one classroom per grade level right now. So that really limits the amount of students that we can take. So if anyone is interested in enrolling, they can call the school number, which is 317-832-4900, or they can fill out the tiny URL link that is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So yeah, we would love to hear from more people. Like I said, a lot of our classes are sitting at around, we're having about 20 students coming from last year into this year. So that only leaves about 5 spots open, and we've already been through 2 lotteries. So like I said, those seats are going quickly. I'm going to bring our teachers back in for a moment. Let's see, actually, I think we'll just keep everybody on. If you're not talking, if you'll just go ahead and mute your microphone. And we are gonna jump in and start talking a little bit about our Pathways program. So I think we will start out, Mr. Service, do you want to share with us some of the goals of our Pathways program that we had this year?
Absolutely. So as Alicia mentioned at the beginning, our students in Indianapolis are pretty lucky that the high schools that they get to choose to go to, especially in Marion County, all have, and this is something great the state is kind of championing as well, but they all have a focus, a career focus. They have CTE programs. They have programs in place to get students career experience once they get into high school, and the different high schools have different focuses for what those careers are. And our students get to select which one of those high schools they would like to go to. So we think that it's kind of too late to wait until they're in high school or out of high school. I know most adults I talk to now even tell me like they didn't have a plan in place until after high school graduation, and maybe even years after that, depending on their circumstances. But we want our students to start thinking about careers and what they enjoy doing now. So our Pathways program is designed to give our students experiences with all 16 career clusters. So there are 16 career clusters that the Department of Workforce Development has put out there. And pretty much every career falls under one of those categories. Now, we obviously cannot expose our students to every single career that's out there, but we select in high demand jobs in Indiana that are predicted by the Department of Workforce Development to be in demand in the next 20 years. And those are the careers that we're trying to expose our students to. And think about those 21st century skills that our students are going to need for careers that don't even exist right now. 20 years ago, computer science was something that was, nobody was talking about when I was in school. And now, it's one of the highest paying professions, and one of those professions that, especially in the time we're in right now, there are a ton of jobs out there for people to do that sort of thing. So trying to think forward about what skills our students are going to need when they graduate and either choose college, military, career, whatever it may be. We want to prepare them so that they have a plan and they have that support of their family, and they know what they're interested in. So it's not just a job, that it's an actual career that they want to continue with. So that's our big goal of the Pathways program. Ms. Chambers does a phenomenal job of teaching that right now. Our 3rd through 5th graders this year, and I'll let her talk some more specifics about the class, but they had some really, really amazing experiences. And if there's any community partners that are out there, one of our big pieces of the Pathways program is bringing in community partners to share their career journeys with our kids, so that they are aware that it's not just something we're talking about, that these career journeys are real things that a lot of the adults in their lives went through. So that's kind of the goal of the Pathways program, and it was a huge success this year. I wish we could have continued it in person, but certain circumstances obviously have kept us from doing that. But our students have continued to have that class during e-learning as well. So that's Pathways at ILH.
Yeah, and I know there are several schools in Indianapolis who are just focusing on college bound only. I know when we designed the school model, we definitely want to make sure that all of our students are well prepared, so that if they can go to college, or if they choose to go to college, they can, and they're prepared for that. But we also wanted to make sure that it was a school model that appealed to all students and was really prepping students for what all of their options are after high school. Because as we've been looking in the city, there are so many options out there where you can step right into an internship opportunity that will later pay for your schooling, or trades careers that you can step into for a year and pay way less money than what you're going to pay going to college and have a very successful career. So I know that's a really important thing for us to make sure that our students see all of those different options. And I know, Ms. Chambers, you dove into teaching the class this year. Do you want to tell us more about your class and some of the projects that you had going on this year?
Yeah, I'd love to. So just like Mr. Surface said, within each of those 16 clusters, we really try to focus in on some of those jobs that are going to be in demand in the coming years. So once we pinpoint exactly which jobs those are that we want to focus on, we do our best to create learning experiences that will really help the kids dream about them and get authentic exposure to them. So in addition to talking about, what the daily life might look like in that job, what the salary is, the different steps and pathways it takes to excel in that job, and of course the strengths that you need, we try to provide some kind of a hands-on experience for kids to really dive into. So some of my favorite examples were, gosh, there's so many. When we studied architecture and what it's like to be an architect, the students actually got to design their own buildings. One of my favorites was we had a school that was designed to look like a pencil, which I thought was so creative. We had construction managers as a job that we focused on, and the kids had to create different kinds of towers out of materials. And there were different parts of that challenge where they couldn't touch the materials and only had to give oral directions to their classmates on how to build it. And then there were some that they got to be hands-on and actually design different kinds of towers that met different kinds of criteria. We also studied business and finance this year. We actually purchased some stock as a class, and we got to watch as that went down, of course, given the circumstances, which many of the kids found hilarious. And during that cluster, we actually had a senior financial analyst from IU Health come in and talk to the students about what his job is like. So that was, I think, really meaningful for all of the kids. And again, just like Mr. Surface said, we are always looking to expand the community partners that we have, because I think that just provides such a meaningful learning experience for our kids to really see how that job is a part of the community at large, and really visualize what it could be like for them to maybe be in that job someday. So we are always hoping to expand that and the program in general. But it has been an absolute joy to teach. And it has been so fun to see how deeply the kids are able to really think about each job. They've had such high levels of thinking this year that I honestly wasn't anticipated when I started teaching the class. So it has just been endlessly fun to learn alongside them and have those experiences together. Oh, and before I stop talking about this, of course, I have to give a shout out to when we studied electricians and the students had to create circuits, like actual closed circuits to light their bulbs. The fifth graders especially ran with that. I believe Travion found at least 3 different ways to create a circuit and light more than one bulb, which was incredibly fun to watch. So yes, I had to mention that before I go, but the class has really taken off. And it's unlike anything I've ever taught before, but it has been such fun to have this year at our school.
Yeah, I was seeing some expressions over there on our students' faces as you were talking about different projects that I could see they remember. And I know one of the big things that we do at the end of every single year in our Pathways class is that the students leave with a Pathways plan. Now, by the time they leave us in 8th grade, it's a very detailed plan. When they start it in 3rd grade, it's less detailed. But all of our students actually right now during e-learning have been completing their Pathways plans. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that involves, Ms. Chambers?
Absolutely. So the Pathways plans are such an important part of the class because they really do get the students thinking about their own interests and their own strengths and how that can line up with the different careers that we've started to explore together. So I know this year that plan entails reflecting on their own strengths that they got to observe. They really go back and they think about the different experiences that we had, taking all the information that they've learned into account. They narrow down those few jobs that they felt particularly drawn to. But then they also expand to think about their own friends and family. So we ask them to reflect on, what jobs do their family members have? Is there any job that friends or grown-ups have that they might see themselves in someday? Because those connections can be valuable to keep in mind as you're growing up. So we ask them to think about all of that, as well as what they might want in a learning environment. And we have them compile it all into a document that we keep for them. That way, as they advance in the program and as they continue to learn more about themselves and jobs that are out there, we're able to help support them in that work. And that might also lead to potential internships or just other advanced placements that we have for them as they go into the middle school and as we continue to develop the program.
Thank you. And I know Mrs. Fitzgerald worked with our 4th and 5th graders, and she was co-teaching some within the Pathways classroom. Ms. Fitzgerald, could you share with us about what did you see going on in the classroom and what were some of the most relevant parts that you saw that your students were connecting to?
Definitely. So I loved getting to go to Pathways class with my students this year. Students were really engaged in all of the different projects and getting to think about and kind of imagine what life could be like if they chose different paths was really exciting for them. One activity that really kind of stood out to me when I was reflecting back on this was when I think this was closer to the beginning of the year, but they were working on setting a budget. So they were thinking about, if this is my career, I'm going to make this much money. Now, how am I going to spend it? So they had to take into consideration things like rent, or, you know, if you wanted to buy a really expensive car and then you had car payments. So it was really interesting to see the kids kind of try different things and then realize, oops, I don't have enough money for that. I'm going to have to go back and prioritize. And choose the things that are really important to me. And that's something that, you know, as adults, we have to do all of the time. So it was really great that the kids kind of got that experience to see what is setting a budget. What does it look like, or what, and what can I get excited about, right? So Ms. Chambers always brought up, you know, the most exciting part about having a job is that you have money that you can spend. So just learning how to manage that money is really important.
All right, so for the fun part here, I would love to hear from our students. What parts do you remember about the Pathways class? What was your favorite thing that you learned or did in that class?
So one of my favorite parts of it was like the part where we were doing the closed circuits. Now, Miss Chambers said I found out 3 ways how to do it. Well, one of those 3 ways almost burnt the circuit. Well, a lot of students almost did that, but it was, I kind of liked that part. It was fun to interact with wires and see what different things you could do with them.
Were you surprised about anything? Did that help you understand better what it might be like to be an electrician? Had you ever thought about that before?
Oh, yeah. So, like, it actually made me think, what if I actually wrongly closed a circuit before?
And then you've got somebody's house in a bad situation.
Yeah.
All right.
Everything in their house.
And Travion, going out of 5th grade at this point, and I know you've got a lot of years to decide what you're going to do, but what are you thinking on your Pathways plan right now? What careers are you thinking about?
So on my Pathways plan, I was either thinking about hold on, I can't say it. Photographer, or an artist, or a police officer.
Cool. Thank you. All right, Emma, how about you? What was your favorite part of Pathways class?
I remember when we made towers with marshmallows and toothpicks.
Do you remember what you were learning about at that time? Like, what career was it connected to?
We were being an architect.
Okay, talking about being an architect. Is that a career that you found interesting?
Yes.
All right, and have you finished up your Pathways plan in e-learning?
Yes.
Okay, and what were some of the careers that you were thinking about for the future?
I would be an astronaut doctor.
An astronaut doctor, that's awesome. I love hearing the students talking about their Pathways plans. And one of the reasons that we really made this a key part of our school, I'm a 1st-generation high school and college graduate, and I know some of our students are on that same trajectory. And sometimes you really need to start thinking a lot earlier about what the options are after high school. And I know from watching my own daughter, when she went into high school, she was having to think already as a freshman about what classes she wanted to take based on what she was going to do after high school. So I sadly think a lot of our students going into high school have never even had the opportunity to think through what it is that they want to do after high school to really make solid decisions about what classes they're going to take in high school. So I think the two of you are pretty lucky because you're already thinking about these things. So when you get to the end of 8th grade, you're going to be ready to make those decisions. So I think that's pretty cool. We are going to move into, I want just real quick, want to remind people, if anyone's interested in enrolling or talking to someone about enrolling at Invent Learning Hub, our spots are going quickly. So we have a URL at the bottom that you can fill out if you're interested. You can just call the school at 317-832-4900. So I just want to throw that back up there for a few minutes. So next we're going to talk a little bit about our social and emotional learning program. So this is another staple part of our program. I know Miss Chambers is on with us, and this is really very much her baby, and she has rolled this out with our staff and our students from the beginning of the year. So I'm just going to allow her a little bit of time to talk about our social and emotional learning program, what it looks like, where it stems from, and yeah, I'll just let you go with that.
All right, well, this is one of my absolute favorite things to talk about. I could talk about it all day, so please feel free to cut me off if we need to. But for those who might not be aware, social emotional learning is essentially the process through which students gain the knowledge and skills to identify and manage their emotions, to make good decisions, to set positive goals, all of those amazing things that really help you to be a successful person in life. And at ILH, we value social and emotional learning equally to academics. All of our SEL practices are rooted in trauma-informed care, restorative practices, and multicultural competency. And we believe that SEL is for everybody, not just for kids, but for adults too. So at our school, we do our best to really infuse SEL into just the daily life of our students. Rather than keeping it a separate thing, we find ways to embed it into all of their routines, their procedures, and really just the fabric of their learning. So some examples of my favorite practices that we do. Oh, there's so many. One is, of course, our hub time. Students start and end their day in hub time, and that is a time for students to engage in things like morning meeting, EFT tapping, goal setting, and really just building connections and relationships within their hub families. Each hub classroom has an amygdala reset station, and at the start of the year, our students spend about 2 full weeks becoming mini neuroscientists. They learn parts of the brain, they learn about their body's stress response, and of course, different ways to self-regulate. And then we enroll those to students as a preventative measure for them to use whenever they start to feel themselves shift into their amygdala, whenever they're feeling frustrated or angry or upset. Around each amygdala reset station, each hub family also creates a word wall so we can help support students as they learn to identify their feelings and express them. And then, of course, in addition to all of this, we have school counseling services that we provide for all students, as well as mental health counseling services that are provided by our amazing partners at Adult and Child. We're lucky to have them in our building. We meet with them every week, and they are truly such an asset to our students. Thinking about the future, whenever we're able to come back together again, we're in the process of developing a calm room, which I am just over the moon excited about. And I'm excited to see how that might help to take our program to a whole other level with our families and with our students.
Great. Thank you for giving us an overview. I know you mentioned the amygdala reset station, and I think that's a key piece when you walk into our classrooms that you see. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what do you see at that station and how we, at the very beginning of the year, I know there's a part to rolling that out that the students really enjoyed. Can you share with us about that?
Definitely. So in each classroom, it's always easy to identify the amygdala reset station. In each room, they look similar, although the materials that you find at them might be different depending on the grade. And when students first start at the beginning of the year, there is yellow caution tape on them. They are not allowed to touch them yet, because we believe it is so important to educate and empower our students first. Now, I know I mentioned that they're supposed to be preventative practices. So we want to make sure that our students understand the brain science behind them. That way they're able to use that later on when they need it, rather than trying to figure it out in the moment when they're feeling heated. So again, at the start of the year, they get a whole neuroscience training. They learn about the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the brainstem. They learn about the effects of cortisol in their body and the different stress responses that they can have. And then they learn the difference between self-regulation and co-regulation, which are important depending on the brain state a person's in. So when it comes to self-regulation, that is the name of the game for our amygdala reset stations. That is when you take it upon yourself to go and use the materials to help calm your brain down when you're feeling frustrated. So when you go to the amygdala reset station, you're going to find sensory materials like kinetic sand. We have ore beads at a few of our stations. You might find Play-Doh, coloring supplies, different areas to jot down what you might be feeling. Of course, scented lotion is one of my favorite ways to self-regulate, and a hand sanitizer, because we want to make sure we are being aware of the germs that might be there. So we always nip that in the very beginning. And students learn the expectations behind all of those materials before they ever use that station. In fact, that's a prerequisite before we let students go back there. So we want to make sure that when that yellow caution tape comes off in our big ribbon cutting ceremony, that they are ready to use it responsibly if and when the time does come for them. And we also try to keep those amygdala reset stations as an active part of the room. You know, they're not meant to be just for a few select kids. They really are for everybody. You know, we've had staff members that might go and pick up a squishy as a regulation tool if they need. Or we might have students who go back and learn which materials work best for them, because self-regulation can be a personal thing that you kind of have to learn through practice. So that, for me at least, is one of my favorite things about those stations. They really take on a life of their own, and they can become really a heart of a classroom when everybody learns about them and continues to use them throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, and we do talk a lot about self-regulation, and I think that's a term that all of our students would be able to explain to someone. We also try to model that as a staff.
Absolutely.
We're in the process, actually, if we wouldn't have been had the school closure due to COVID-19, we were also going to do some things with our parents at our next family night to talk about how they could transfer some of the ideas into the home, which I'm sad we didn't get to do that. But could we go around real quick, and I'll start and just share what is your self-regulation strategy that you use. And I will start. For me, a lot of times listening to music is one that really works for me. And also, those of you who know me, and you'll probably laugh, you know that smell is a big thing for Mrs. Osler. I like good smells. So I know at our stations, we also have lotion. So we have a lot of times like lavender smelling lotion. That would definitely be a tool that I would use. Just put on some lavender lotion on my hands. All right, you want to go over Travion? You want to go next? Oh, you're muted.
One of my regulation tools would be the kinetic sand, because it's like sometimes I'll take it and I'll pick it up and then just let it drop, and it's satisfying as it drops.
Thank you. Mrs. Wright, do you have something that you do at home?
I usually just go outside and walk around.
Exercise. Yep. How about you, Emma?
When I'm at home, sometimes when I'm upset, I read because I like reading and it helps calm me down.
That's a great strategy. How about you, Mrs. Ray?
Well, and I do want to add too that talking about the amygdala reset station, Emma actually came home at the beginning of the school year and was telling me all about it, about the different parts of the brain and everything that she learned. And then she went through the house and collected items in amygdala reset station in her bedroom. So she can go in there, you know, if she's getting frustrated, she can lock her door and just kind of chill out at her own reset station. And then occasionally, like if Xavier, her brother, is getting upset or getting frustrated, she'll run and go get something and bring it to him and say, you know, maybe this will help you. So that has really helped us this year.
That's awesome.
For me, I like to work, actually. In here in my office and do some work for a while. That is calming to me. Or I listen to music, watch Netflix.
Thank
So
you.
a few different things.
How about you, Mr. Surface?
If I'm at school, I think my biggest regulation technique would just be kind of slowing down my breathing and being really conscious of that. But at home, since work is home now, I think, one of the big reasons I loved and joined ILH was the idea of the maker. I am a maker, and so I like to do. So I'll go tinker in the garage. I'll go do something in my garden. I will go do something on my computer, do something techie, anything to just kind of occupy my mind and work with my hands helps me calm down and regulate.
All right, Ms. Chambers?
All right. So one fact that we learned at the start of the year is that it only takes 7 to 12 seconds to shift from your prefrontal cortex into your amygdala. So one of my favorite self-regulation techniques is something that can be done without any materials, and that is EFT tapping, which is something that we do to start every single day at ILH. We go through all of the acupoints in the body. We take super deep breaths, and we do about 10 to 20 taps, 10 to 12 taps usually on each one. And for me, that's a practice that I've done it at home. I'll do it before I go to bed. I do it if I'm feeling nervous or stressed out. Those points have just a direct path to the limbic system, and they really help to dampen the stress response. So EFT tapping is definitely one of my favorite things to do anytime and anywhere.
We have a great video of Miss Fitzgerald's class doing that.
We do.
How about you, Miss Fitzgerald?
Oh, sorry, I'm unmuted now. Yeah, going off of what Ms. Chambers says, I think EFT tapping is something I learned about this year. And, it's something that I've used for myself throughout e-learning. I know there was one video where I had a bunch of tech problems. So, I told the kids, all right, I'm just going to do some tapping because I'm feeling pretty frustrated right now. I think outside of that, I have a breathing ball in my classroom, and it's kind of like a rainbow shaped sphere that kind of expands and then gets really small. So we practice taking deep breaths, and as we breathe in, the ball gets bigger, and as we breathe out, the ball gets smaller. So having a visual to tie our breathing to, I think, is really helpful, because when you're frustrated, it can be kind of hard to be like, okay, I'm just going to stop and take 10 deep breaths. So I really like connecting that to a visual to help my brain get back in the prefrontal cortex.
And Miss Fitzgerald really did a lot. We had her on here to talk about what she did with her hub team. So our students start and end every day in their social emotional learning time, which we call hub time. And there were a lot of activities that you did with your students to build community and build those SEL skills. Do you mind sharing with us a little bit about what you guys did?
Yeah, of course. So my favorite part of the day was our morning hub time. So as Ms. Chambers said, that was 30 minutes dedicated just to building social and emotional skills. So in my room, we started out every day on the carpet in a circle. We had music playing, we had kind of soft lights on, and we started out with a greeting. So every student got to go around and say good morning to the person sitting next to them. That's a really important part of the day, just for every student to hear their name being said, to hear themselves being validated and to validate others. And then we move into a feelings share. So we switched it up. Sometimes we would say, what kind of weather are you feeling like today? Or tell me in exactly 8 words, how are you feeling? And I think that was a really beneficial time for the kids, because they got to share the big and little things that were happening in their lives. So if someone had a little sibling born, they got to share about that, and we got to celebrate with them as a class. If someone woke up late and they didn't get to eat their favorite cereal, they might be a little grumpy. So we get to practice empathizing and showing support. We have a silent signal for support that looks like this. So students can always show, that they're listening and show that they have empathy for each other. I think this is also really important because our actions are tied to our feelings. So if students know right from the start of the day that, oh, this person is feeling a little bit upset today, they may, try and interact with that student in a slightly different way because they know, wow, they had a rough morning. You know, I need to show extra kindness today. And I think another, you know, huge benefit of that is just being heard. You know, there's 20 kids in a class. So having a specific time where every single person gets to share is really important. And it's nice for me too. I share how I'm feeling. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes I'm not having good days, and sharing that with my kids, I think, is really important. And then one other aspect that I really enjoy about our morning meetings is getting to share appreciations. So we did that more towards the end of the year. So during appreciations time, students would stand up and come to the middle of the circle and call another person up, and then, you know, make eye contact with them and say, I appreciate you because, and then fill in the blank. So this could be anything from you played basketball with me at recess, or you shared your chips with me after school, or you helped me calm down when I was mad. So we don't, I think in our culture, do a great job of always telling people when we appreciate them, even as adults. And, you know, every day there are people who are doing kind things for us, and we do kind things to others. So this appreciation time is helping our kids get comfortable with and practice telling people when they appreciate them. And, you know, it's a little bit uncomfortable at first, but the kids really jumped into this. I have a few students who were super shy, who didn't want to talk ever, but they were actually able to open up during this appreciations time and, you know, tell their friends how important they are to them. So I really enjoyed that aspect as well. In the afternoon hub time, we worked through different lessons on learning new emotion words, on, you know, practicing different scenarios. We wrote kindness cards to other students, and we continued with our learning about our brain and learning about neuroscience. And I hope to do that a lot more next year, especially with the older students.
Thank you. All right, so for our students, what part of the SEL program, I know we've kind of touched on some of the pieces of what we did this year. Which part of it was most beneficial to you? Trevian, do you want to start?
The most beneficial part of the SEL program, I think, was the amygdala reset station, because that was like a calming place that you could just soothe in and take whatever you had on your mind and set it behind you and move on with your day.
Great. How about you, Emma?
I think most beneficial part was morning circle. Then we got to share how we were feeling, if we wanted to, and we could talk about something good that happened.
That's great. Yes, thank you for sharing. Jasmine or Candace, do you have anything you want to share about anymore with the SEL? I know I appreciated you sharing about what you guys had done at home, because that's awesome.
No, not really.
Okay. Mr. Surface, there was another piece to our SEL program too. I think because we're doing all of these things, we're taking a lot of proactive approach to things, but there were also a lot of students that we really put some individual plans in place. And I know we had some students who came to us this year from other schools where they just weren't feeling like they could be successful, and it was a lot of behaviors and emotions that were getting in the way of them being successful. Would you want to share with us a little bit about what you saw with those students this year and why they were able to be more successful at ILH?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as a fresh start charter school, and with school choice being so prevalent in Indianapolis, we do see kids who move schools quite often, and we do, you know, end up getting students who haven't found success at other places. And I think one thing that really makes us different, Megan talked about it a little bit, but I think one of the most important pieces that we do really well is teaching them the vocabulary of emotions and feelings and the brain. And we give our students the skills and knowledge needed to talk about what is going on with them, right? So instead of, that's, and I've got little kids, when they are in that stage where they can't tell you how they're feeling, they can't tell you what is going on. It's just, it all comes out physical typically, and through pretty severe emotions. And through the teaching of specific feeling words and what those are and how to handle those and how to manage those and how to regulate those, we're preparing our students to be able to talk about it when they get into those stages. Now, obviously, if they're in certain parts of the brain, talking about it's not going to help, which Ms. Chambers has shared with us a lot. But once they get past that piece, they're able to have those conversations, and that's an important part of being successful and being able to regulate, because as we grow to be adults, we want to be able to do that. And so we're putting those, we're having those conversations with kids at a very, very early age. I think another thing that kind of sets us apart and it helps students who haven't been successful in other schools is our kind of sense of belongingness at ILH. We call ourselves a family. I saw in several classes when new students would start, they would have third grade, especially, like a little welcoming committee. They would do certain things to welcome those kids to their family and to their class. And they would teach them about the things that they do during circle and make sure that everybody had a voice. Attachment, belongingness, building relationships, all of those three pieces have to take place before any amount of cognition really can happen effectively. And we do that better than any school that I've ever been in, and it's because we're intentional with it. And so when those students, when they join us and they experience lack of success other places, we welcome them with open arms. Our students welcome them with open arms. They feel like they belong at ILH, and we immediately start that support system that gives them what they need. One thing that is a part of our kind of SEL / discipline / our social and emotional plan is to kind of seek first to understand, meet the needs of the student first, and determine what those needs are before we go any farther. And I think that proactive approach, instead of being reactive to certain situations, seeking to understand and determining the needs and meeting those needs, I don't know, it sets us apart and really helps students be successful at ILH in a way that they may not be at other schools.
All right, so we're about finished up here. I just want to say again, if anybody's watching the video and they need to still enroll or have questions about enrollment, you can either fill out the tiny URL link or you can call the school at 317-832-4900. I want to put our students on the hot seat again, ask them a few questions. These are not questions about pathways or e-learning, just a few, or sorry, not e-learning, social and emotional learning. But I do want to ask you some questions about e-learning. So, our school had to essentially become an e-learning school within a matter of 2 weeks. We figured it out. And I hope that you would rather be back at normal school than e-learning school, because we would too. But looking at what you've been doing with e-learning, what have you enjoyed about e-learning? What was one of your favorite lessons or favorite parts of e-learning?
So if I had to say which one was my favorite lesson was whenever we were doing it was with Miss Fitzgerald, and we were reading The River Between Us, and I think it was somewhere in between chapter 12 or 13 that we talked about square dancing and how I thought it was a really cool dance how they did it.
Yeah, I saw Miss Fitzgerald doing some fun things on her videos. I don't know. I saw something with some balloons.
Yeah, and then the balloon pop and the slideshow and everything.
Yeah, and I believe, did she wear some different clothing one day?
Yeah, it was what Aaron wore that one day because he tried on a Union uniform.
Yep, Union soldier. We talked about the Civil War, so we got to try and make it a little bit more engaging, and we watched a square dancing video, and we listened to some different musical instruments that were popular way back then, but we haven't really heard of today.
Like a steam calliope.
What was your favorite lesson, Emma?
I think my favorite lesson was when we made chairs in design thinking. Because I didn't that were 3D with just paper.
Yeah,
Now I know that you can.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Rosas had some fun videos too. I thought it was always fun how she would move her little face bubble all around and point to the different things on the screen. Did you like that part?
Yeah.
So while we were in e-learning, what have you been, so what I'm thinking is, since you had e-learning for 6 weeks, hopefully when we go back in the fall, I mean, kids are going to love school more than they've ever loved school. So that's pretty exciting. But what did you miss most about school?
What I miss most about school was I missed mostly everything. There's nothing that e-learning was not better than actual school, because actual school, you're there, you're doing it, you can see your teachers, you can actually understand and comprehend. Now with e-learning, it was kind of, okay, do the video, do this. Not what I was kind of trying to go for, but that's what it had to come down to because of COVID-19.
How about you, Emma?
I wish we could at least go to school. I don't like not being able to go anywhere. And I like when we can have teachers around to help us in the classroom instead of just having to try to contact them if we need help, because sometimes they don't answer. And at school, then we can always have someone to help us if we need help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Agree.
I also miss having robotics.
Robotics? Did you enjoy seeing some of the things that Mr. Surface was making on the 3D printer?
Yeah.
You got a very special one, didn't you, Emma? You made one of our first guesses, something that Miss Fitzgerald probably was very jealous of. What was that? Do you remember?
Yeah. What? Yes, I remember. It was a Harry Potter one.
That's right. That's right. And we showed how the different layers are built using the 3D printer, laying 2D layers eventually make a 3D product. So that was really fun.
So Emma and Mrs. Ray, do you want to share? You guys have been doing a lot of work during COVID-19, making something. And then I know Mr. Surface made some things on the 3D printer to kind of go with that. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so we volunteered through an organization called Sew and Serve, and we've been making masks for healthcare workers and for frontline workers. And then we're also a drop-off point. So other people in the community who are making masks can bring them here to donate them. And then we, the drop-off points all over central Indiana now. So basically we collect them and then we distribute them to fill the request from hospitals, doctors' offices, police departments. Like we made a huge donation, I think like 1,000 masks to IMPD. We've donated, I think, over 4,000 to Community Health Network. Just last night, actually, they announced that Sew and Serve has now donated over 100,000 masks and surgical caps to healthcare workers and law enforcement and all of them. So yeah, so it's, we're still getting requests. It's still a huge need, but it's been very rewarding. So I'm glad that, we can help. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know on the 3D printer, Mr. Surface has been making some of the bands that go around the back of the head. There we go. So that ear savers, that's what we call them, right?
Yep. We've given away, I don't know, probably close to 250, 300 now. So they, this has been all word of mouth and just donating to a lot of the local, I live on the south side, so a lot of the local doctors' offices and hospitals and things, and nursing stations. So yeah, it's been really fun. There's a whole network of 3D printer, people who do 3D printing across the state, and people are doing some really cool things. And it's just another example of how some of these 21st century skills that we work with our kids on can be used and adapted to meet the what we kind of call wicked problems of our modern day. So yeah, it's been pretty fun.
All right, so we only have a few minutes before we're gonna go ahead and turn off our live feed. Can everybody think of either one word or a few words if somebody's considering ILH as an option as a school? What would you say would be the reason somebody should choose ILH in just either a short sentence or a word? Maybe we'll start with Ms. Fitzgerald and then move through the teachers and then through the rest of us.
I would say engaging and family.
I think my word when I think of ILH is always family. We are such an incredible, close-knit family. And I think that special feeling we have all together really sets us apart and makes every day so powerful. Family.
I would probably say making. We really challenge our kids to make, create, be problem solvers, while not just having to know their math, reading, and whatever, but really getting their hands moving as well.
I would say innovative, and I would say the people, meaning the teachers, the parents, the students. All right, Travion, you're next.
I'd say the challenges and the creativity.
Miss Wright, you want to add anything?
I would say family and
Dedication.
yeah, dedication of how much the teachers do.
Ready, Emma?
Kind and inventive.
I like it.
Kind and inventive.
Do you have anything you want to add, Mrs. Ray?
No, I think everybody's covered it pretty well. It's such a different school than we've really enjoyed it. It's been completely different from any of the other schools that we've seen or considered, and I'm so glad that we're able to be a part of ILH.